Hi, Homeworthy. I'm Cheryl. Welcome to my home in North Carolina. I'm so happy you're here. Come on in.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story. Thank you to Serena and Lily for sponsoring today's episode.
Hi, I'm Cheryl Luckett, owner and principal designer of Dwell by Cheryl Interiors. We are at my bungalow in the burbs outside of Charlotte, North Carolina. I've been here for about 17 years and this is my home. So I purchased this home in 2007. It was my first single family home. Prior to that, I owned a condo. And this was really my first real big girl house, and I absolutely love it. Fell in love with it from the very beginning. I was looking for something that had a yard, that had a garage, that had enough space for me and all my things. But I kind of knew that it would be a place that I would be for a while, and this just really checked all the boxes. You can imagine over the past 17 years, style has certainly evolved. When I moved in, I was not an interior designer. I worked in corporate America as a registered dietitian, but I always had that little knack for DIY and kind of nesting, and this place has been my laboratory. It's where my business was born. It's where I've made a whole lot of design mistakes and corrections, and I feel like today it is my happy place for sure. So this is my front porch. It really serves as kind of an extended living area for me. I remember during COVID, it was so nice because I have kind of a neighborhood where people walk on the sidewalks, and I remember swinging in the swing and, finishing up work at a reasonable hour and having a cool beverage on the front porch. I kind of miss those days, but that said, the space is a really great space for just kind of chilling on a nice day. I've got a porch swing on this side and then some rocking chairs on the other side, and it really does pretty well in the elements. Every now and then, from time to time, I need to spruce things up. This year I've done that with a few items from Serena and Lily. I love this new side table that I have that kind of serves as a place to put a drink when I'm hanging out on the front porch. I've got kind of a larger scale front door mat that's also from Serena and Lily, and I finish things off with a couple of throw pillows in the rocking chairs. Just really makes it have more of a living indoor feel than an outdoor space, and I think it entices you to use it a little bit more than you might typically. Welcome to the entry of my home. I am a girl who believes in function first. And as you can tell, it's a small space, and I don't have a true entry. And so I decided to create one by floating the sofa here and creating this small corridor. I was able to situate an entry table here that packs a lot of function in a really small space. So I've got a vintage console table that I actually got on Facebook Marketplace. It just had those classic lines and details that I like so much. And I knew that I wanted a place to house all my winter weather accessories. I live in North Carolina, so you can imagine I don't use those all that frequently. But this is where all of my hats and scarves and gloves live. and it's just a convenient place to keep them as you're heading out the front door. Of course, as an interior designer, you want those styled moments, and so I've got my books and a few of my favorite pieces of art positioned here. This is actually from one of my favorite shops in Charlotte from a fellow designer here, Dress My Room Interiors. I love this vase. I often have flowers in it. And then, of course, it's essential at an entry to have a mirror to check yourself as you're leaving. So I've got a mirror here, a really interesting lamp, a place to put coats and umbrellas. And it's a small space, but it really does function well for me. I added a custom cut rug that was made out of carpet that I actually got at the Habitat Restore. And so I had I think an 8-foot runner fashioned out of this carpet remnant that I got. And I just love it. I've had it for years. It totally functions so well. And it gives me an entry point to my bungalow. So here we have just a random find. I love a chair. I'm an upholstery girl, so it's hard for me to miss out on purchasing a really good chair. So this is a classic Louis dining chair that I picked up, I think, at an outlet in Atlanta. And I didn't really have a place for it. It's kind of moved around from place to place. And I've just decided to position it here alongside the console table. And it's a really good place for you to change your shoes or take them off or take them on. And I've got my little monogram pillow because I'm a Southern girl and that's what we do. So this is just an addition that finishes off the space pretty nicely. So as we make our way into the living space, the main living space, again, it's not large at all, but it totally functions for me. I've got a sofa here that's covered in Revolution Performance fabric. I have a collection with them, and I'm a big believer in performance fabric. So although I do have a white sofa, it really stands the test of time in terms of stains and durability. And so I've had that for a while. Me and Coco love our sofa. We hang out here a lot. So I've got this piece that's actually a cottage sofa because I don't have a lot of space here. I went with a 78-inch sofa that fits really well in the space and still allows me to have a couple of chairs. Now, I am totally a vintage girl. So this chair was actually featured on my blog years ago. I found it at the Goodwill and I love the lines of it. And so I ended up covering it in this animal print, doing a contrasting welt on it. And I have my friends who are queued up for when I get ready to get rid of this chair. They are literally standing in line. So I've got that one chair, and then I have a wing chair in this corner that was also a vintage find that was reupholstered in this cute blush fabric. And I just love a wing chair because you can kind of, sit back, rest your head, kick your feet up on an ottoman. It's a really comfortable but also classic piece. And then I've got, I have a lamp collection with wildwood. So of course, in putting the space together, I wanted to incorporate some of the things that I designed. So this lamp is the savoir-faire lamp from my collection with wildwood. And then honestly, I end up with a lot of extra accessories from show house projects and client project leftovers. And oftentimes they end up in my home as decor. And so these boxes were in a show house, actually my very first show house in 2018. I did a men's closet. And so I've got a lot of kind of masculine looking accessories that are left over from that, which I absolutely love. And, these boxes are great for corralling random things. And I just like functionality, even for your remote controls. I've got mine in a glass box. They just look elevated and they still function for my TV that is hidden in this chest, this Asian chest that I believe was originally from Pier 1, but I found it also on Facebook Marketplace many moons ago, and it houses my TV inside. And so I like, it's not large. All of the men that come over talk about how small my TV is, but it's my TV, not theirs. But it's just fine for me, and it houses the TV, and I'm able to close it off, and I just appreciate that. Then, of course, we can't leave a space undecorated. I've taken the opportunity to kind of display some of my favorite things atop this cabinet. I've got the box that's also from my collection with wildwood, and I also have a little bird and a piece of art that I picked up in Paris at the flea market on my first trip there recently. And then again, just some kind of leftover project pieces that didn't work for somebody else but totally worked in my space. And I feel like these are the things that make my home feel so much like me. It's those nods to culture and femininity that really make it my own. One of the latest additions to this living space is actually the drapery. In 2020, I believe, I did a little spruce up in this space, and I knew I wanted to elevate the drapery, and so I had my eye on this black floral Brunswick and Fee print that I just absolutely love. It has butterflies, it's black, so it's kind of striking. I was able to find a discount retailer who had some yardage that I extended because I really wanted to incorporate it. And the panels just add a little softness, a little femininity, and that Southern classic traditional touch. One of the things about interfacing on social media on a regular basis is you find the best artists and artisans out there. One of my favorites is Angela, who makes these wooden ribbon pieces in all kinds of colors, and she hand paints them, and she does like releases around quarterly. I saw this walnut piece one holiday season and had to pick it up, literally set the alarm to be one of the first people when she dropped them. And originally I think I thought it was gonna be holiday decor, but I liked it so much we just leave it up year round. So I'm definitely a scent person, and I want my home to smell like home. I've recently made a change because last Christmas I got one of those hotel diffusers. It is currently in my show house space elsewhere, and so right now I'm back to candle burning. And the house scent is Laundry Day from Bath and Body Works. Me and Bath and Body Works go way back, but I definitely have my favorites, and this is one of them. So we've got some wallflowers and a coordinating candle that I like to burn. It just smells like you're doing laundry all day. We joke that I am the person who is most likely to put the most furniture in a space. I can't help myself. I just feel like it makes it cozy when there's a place for everybody to sit. I love to entertain, and most of my entertaining is casual. And so we end up being in those situations where you need a random stool, you need a little chair, you need to be able to pull out the ottomans that have your hat, scarves, and gloves in it for people to sit down. And so I end up having a lot of side tables and perches for things. I love plants, but I'm a classic girl, so I want my plants to be on plant stands. And so these are all vintage finds, antique malls, Goodwill, Habitat Restore. So it's just, classic spindle, wood spindle legs, a marble top. I feel like that never goes out of style. So what I like about these is it gives me a place for the plant, but it also gives me a place to decorate on the bottom. So I've got a pair of those. I've got a stool that I got at a vintage sale that I had the top reupholstered that serves as a footstool in this small space, but it also can be a seat in a pinch. In my space, I'm a pattern mixer. First of all, I love textiles. So any opportunity to upholster something add drapery, add a pillow, I'm taking it. And so I love for all of those things to be different patterns. But I also like a calm space, so I'm less likely to use those patterns on the big pieces that are the foundation of the space. So you'll notice I've got a solid color rug. I've got a solid color sofa. I've got, walls that are pretty neutral. And so at that point, it gives me a really good foundation to just start layering on pattern and color in a way that makes sense. So in this space, my color scheme was really kind of blush and black, grounded with some brown and neutral wood tones. And that just becomes the playbook for how to add those patterns together. So I've got multiple animal prints. I've got like a little dot that looks like a Dalmatian here. Got kind of a tiger-esque print, a cheetah. We've got the whole jungle in here, but it doesn't feel overwhelming because it's just small doses and there's always a point of connectivity back to something else. And I think that's really the recipe. Find what is the through line and just make sure you keep going back to that with your additions. So one pillow is black, which ties back to the drapery. One pillow has the blush, which also ties back to the drapery and ties to the chair. We've got some African motifs that are mixed in. And so I've just kind of tried to sprinkle those in throughout so that in the end, when it's all done, it makes sense. You move into a home and the tendency is to want to do it all at once. You want everything just the way you want it today. For many of us, that's just not realistic. And so I think one of the things that I can appreciate now after being here for so long is the fact that I took my time and I did what I could when I could. For some rooms, that meant just putting some paint and buying some pretty pillows. For other rooms, that meant making them more of a priority and doing a whole custom closet because I needed that to function well right now today. And it has taken over a decade to get all of the things that I've wanted to do done. But I feel like what I would have done 10, 15 years ago would have changed anyway. So I don't have any regret about taking my time and doing it over time. So I don't feel like homeowners should feel rushed at all. You can make small changes that make a big impact, and eventually when you're ready to blow it up, you can blow it up. So when I moved in, this space was originally designed to be a combo living dining area. I didn't need a formal dining space, and I made the conscious decision to kind of use this space on the other side of the room as a sitting area. Now, it has evolved over 17 years several times, but right now it houses a baby grand piano, which I'll tell you about. But the division point in the space is this peninsula fireplace. It's one of the things that was a huge selling point for me when I purchased the home. I love the idea of having this fireplace that comes off the wall. It's, gas logs, and it kind of illuminates the space on both sides and really adds a lot of functionality. It did leave me with a space above that honestly I'm not 100% finished with. I'm thinking I'll probably one day add a built-in here, but right now it's just a place for me to collect baskets. Good girl. I absolutely love this dog bed. Coco just turned a year old a couple of weeks ago. She loves this Serena and Lily dog bed. It's super fluffy, so I feel like she feels a little like a princess up here. But it's a great spot for her to chill out while we're hanging out watching TV. So on the other side of that fireplace, we've got this piano that I actually acquired from my next door neighbors in 2020. They were downsizing and moving to a retirement village. They had this 45-year-old piano that they bought together when they first got married, and they were giving it away. And we were stuck at home during the pandemic, and I thought, wouldn't this be a great time to learn how to play a free piano? And wouldn't this look great in my living space? And so I literally had movers move it from their house next door to mine. And it's 2024 and I still can't play the piano, but I like the idea of one day getting to that. So this is the piano area. We've got a kind of a chandelier above it, kind of grounded the space with a hide just to have some movement on this side of the room. And then I've got a banquet from my first licensed collection. It's a furniture piece that I designed next to a lamp from my collection with wildwood. And again, this is where I've added in some of those cultural moments that really speak to who I am as an individual, that make my house feel like home to me. So I actually found this piece of this textile, this African textile, rolled up at an antique mall in a booth. And I don't know, I think it may have been $30 or $40. And I texted a friend and I'm like, should I buy this? And she's like, are you kidding me? Yes. So I took it to my framer and we matted it on a board, framed it out, and it's probably one of my favorite things in the entire house. So I love that it's here. I love that it speaks to the lamp design here from my collection. And it has that vibe that I was going for, that is a counterpoint to the more traditional elements in the space. While I've separated the spaces, it is one big space, and I needed to have connectivity between the two. And so I've got the window at the front end of the space, and I've got this window on the side. I did make the decision to keep the drapery the same because it still feels like one large room, and I think it was important to have that connectivity. And again, it kind of makes the room feel a little bit more cohesive with the pattern mixing and the, polarity of having the African motifs with the traditional Southern motifs, and it just makes it make sense to have it in both places. So I'm definitely an entertainer, and that means having all the things that allow you to be able to entertain people. So this bar cart, I went really old school on the bar cart. There are lots of bar carts out there, and there was a time during my blogging days where bar cart styling was all the rage. I went old school because I really liked the functionality of these more traditional vintage pieces. This one actually has a drawer on the front side that I can store napkins and any accessories in. It also has a leaf that I removed. Well, it has two leaves actually, so it extends to be a table. They're in my garage right now, but if I ever need this to serve as a server in here, I can go grab those and just literally screw them back in. And then it gives me the space to have lots of glassware on the bottom, and then to have all of my alcohol and accompaniments up top. And so this is a piece that is a staple in the space. Again, continuing with the kind of African global motif, I found these fans while out shopping one Saturday for a client project, and thought they would be super cute positioned over the bar cart situation here. They tie back to some of the natural elements I have, like the baskets, and they just give the space a more worldly feel. Because my home is not huge, I had to rethink how I needed to orient things to accommodate all of my belongings. I am an entertainer at heart, and I like casual entertaining, but that requires lots of things to feed people on. And so one of my collections is dishes. So I knew I needed a china cabinet. My kitchen does not have the space for a china cabinet. Like I mentioned, this was originally supposed to be a dining space. So I just kind of brought the kitchen into this area and purchased this this French style china cabinet, had it painted out. I actually had it for years unpainted. And then I think it was during the pandemic, I actually had it painted black, which I love. It's definitely style specific, but I honestly have kept it because it has so much storage. It's hard to find a more modern piece that packs as much storage as this does. And so I've got bowls, I've got soup tureens, I've got glasses, I've got flatware in here. My grandmother's Fiesta ware collection is in the bottom. You know, I've got drawers for napkins and napkin rings and placemats, you name it, is stored in here. And I love the functionality of it. It also kind of reminds me of the furniture I had growing up as a kid. So it's a little nod to the past. So in the base here, I have my grandmother's entire collection of Fiesta ware. So growing up, my grandmother loved the colorful pieces in the Fiesta ware collection. And she said that she remembers in the 60s when they came out and she always wanted them. So when she got older, I think I was probably a teenager at the time, she started buying them set by set. So like every few months she would go to the department store at home and buy a set in a different color. And as a color lover, I absolutely adored those dishes. So when she passed away, I inherited her collection and have since added a lot to it. But in 2021, the collection was featured in Country Living magazine, and it's kind of a pride point for me because I know she is probably looking down, very happy that I have acquired her collection, but I also was featured in a magazine for it, and I actually use it. So that's Grandma's Fiesta ware. I've always been a creative. Even as I look back to my childhood, I was the kid who had the best room in the house. My friends would come over and I would like organize their things so that they wouldn't be a visual distraction. Fast forward to college, I had the room that they toured prospective students through. I've always been that girl, but my career kind of took a different path. My parents were educators and they kind of steered me in a more reasonable profession. And I ended up becoming a dietitian, and I worked at a Fortune 500 providing food service management. And I did that job and I was great at it and I loved it. But all the while, I always had this creative knack for home. And that grew over time, and it certainly grew as I purchased this home and started to really nest and make it my own. And it kind of sparked something in me. So I took a different job at the same company, got off the road, decided to take a little class at the junior college in interior design, and I'll be honest, the rest is history. That started me blogging 3 times a week. That meant that I needed a name and a domain on the internet and a social media page. And before I knew it, I had clients reaching out. So I made a strategic plan to pivot in 5 years, and I did just that. And so as I look back, it probably was a divine order that I land in this career, but it's something that's been in me for a very long time, and I couldn't be happier to be doing it for a living. We are here in my guest bathroom. From time to time when I'm entertaining, sometimes the guests will sleep over. And I love having a space where they can feel comfortable and have all the things that they need at their fingertips. So I've not done a full overhaul in this space, but I have made a couple of additions that really elevate it and make it feel a little bit more special. For starters, I've got this Ralph Lauren wallpaper that I took from the walls to the ceiling, something that I actually just ran into at the Habitat Restore. I think they were $5 a roll, which is insanity. So it was kind of I couldn't pass it up moment. So I've wrapped the room in that wallpaper. It's kind of a palm leaf motif, and then really just changed out the lighting, added a new mirror and some original art pieces from some of my artist friends. And it really just feels a lot fancier than it actually is. I've got a floor to ceiling, just about ceiling, shower curtain that again just draws the eye up and makes it feel a little bit more dramatic. And then anytime I'm having guests over, I want them to be comfortable. I want them to have everything they need at their fingertips. I've got some Serena and Lily towels that I just love. They're super absorbent, super soft. I've kind of got the set an overnight guest would need with the hand towel, the washcloth, and the bath towel. And then I love these items that add a little texture to the bathroom, like the tissue box and the little canister and the tray that houses a bathroom spray and a candle. And it's just those little bitty things that make it feel a little bit more special and a little bit more decorated. I think guests appreciate the extra thought and effort put into spaces where they reside. I would say my style is what I call Afro-Southern. I really feel like your home should be a representation of who you are. It's how we approach our client projects, and it also is how I approach designing my own home. So I am equal parts African American, but I'm also a big time bona fide Southern girl. And so I love tradition, I love heritage, I love history. And so my home is a combination of antiques and vintage pieces with things that are a little more feminine, with flourishes and classic details. And then I've kind of layered on top of that this global feel that really harkens to my roots. So there's a lot of texture and textiles and nods at African culture that are juxtaposed against something much more traditional. But I like that. I feel like it makes it unique and it makes it very personal for me. How about I take you to the kitchen next, because it is one of the spaces that I love so much, but it took me a long time to get to. And in 2020, I actually did a complete overhaul of this space. There was an online design challenge that I participated in, so I had full sponsorship, and I really picked this space apart and determined what I needed, how I needed it to function, and did the space from top to bottom. So let's start with the cabinets that I did not paint because I intentionally made a choice to keep my honey oak cabinetry from the early 2000s when the home was built, and I knew it would be a non-popular decision. But I am very much into a home being what a home is. And this house, in fact, was built in 2001. So I wanted to let it be what it is. It's a bungalow. It's cottagey. It was built in the early 2000s. It has honey oak cabinetry. And so instead of painting something that I'd have to upkeep and keep repainting with the day-to-day use of wear and tear, I also would have that disconnectivity from the flooring in the living space to the cabinetry in the kitchen. I decided, what would it look like if I kept this color on the cabinets? And so I created an entire color scheme that would highlight and complement the honey oak that I had going on in this space. So that landed me with orange and blue. So I knew that the cabinetry had this warm orangey undertone. And so instead of fighting that, I really leaned in. So I picked a complementary color for the backsplash, and I took it all the way to the ceiling. And that blue juxtaposed against the warm wood really started to make it look intentional and less dated. And so I used pops of orange on the drapery, which kind of helped me to expand the color scheme with some golden yellows, an artwork that has some of those colors. And it really came together. So at that point, I needed to think about, how did I need the space to function? This originally was a cabinet, just a floating cabinet that you see in most builder basic homes. We ripped that down. I got a local woodworker to make floating shelves as close to the honey oak finish as possible. So this is actually white oak that will over time become a little bit more warm. And so I displayed some of Grandma's fiesta ware here, put a couple pieces of art, mounted a light, did a cornice because I'm a classic girl who loves some fabric. So that was an opportunity for me to add another dose of fabric here. We upgraded the countertops. I did like a quartz with some warm veining, changed all the hardware, added crown to the cabinetry, displayed my collection of blue and white. I originally had this island, but it did not have an extension. So there was no ability to sit here. So I thought if I could eke out just a few more inches, I could have 2 bar stools sitting here. And so that's exactly what we did. I did opt to paint the island just to create a little bit of contrast. So we went with Sherwin-Williams moth wing here on the island. I extended the edge of the island so that I could accommodate 2 stools. I went for broke on color on the stools just to give you that jolt of fabric and color. And I sit here, honestly, more than I sit at the dining table. And so those functional things that I'm really into, because at the end of the day, you can always make a pretty space, but a space that really supports how you live is so much more valuable. One of the other things that I did in this space is I really assessed, how do I use the space? And one of the things that I love to do is watch TV while I'm cooking. And so I had this random single cabinet that used to live up here converted into a cabinet that houses my TV. And I knew I wanted the ability to be able to close it off to make it look pretty when I needed it to look pretty. But on the day-to-day, I cook and watch TV. I drink coffee in the morning and watch the news. So it made sense. I don't have an open concept home, nor do I want one. So I love the idea of having that functionality of being able to watch TV in this main living space. It just made so much sense. So I love that addition. People are most intrigued about these upholstered doors. This is my laundry closet, which I dare not open, but this houses my washer and dryer. And I'm like, okay, we're decorating this space. We're making it look great and grand. How about let's do some upholstered doors? And so we literally did a panel over these doors, covered it in Revolution Performance fabric, added some fabulous hardware from our local friends, Addison Weeks in Charlotte. And I've got something that looks far more grand than a laundry closet here. The dining space is actually where I added the most color in selecting this really rich orange floral as drapery. I really was able to add a pretty significant dose of color, especially for a kitchen, without painting the whole kitchen out a color. So I absolutely love the drapery. It's what started the entire color scheme, in addition to the orangey oak cabinetry. Coco's got a toy now. So I did drapery in the bay. I did drapery on the side here. And then I pulled some of the color out of that drapery onto a banquette. That's from my first licensed furniture collection. I've used that here. It's performance fabric. All of these are actually performance fabric. Huge fan of that. And so I've done 4 dining chairs, a vintage Duncan Fife table that I got in an estate sale. It has a leaf. Actually, it has multiple leaves. There's one in here now. I think I get rid of that one for Christmas so I can have have a tree here. And it just is a cozy dining space. It houses your friends when they're over, when you're doing some casual entertaining for a smaller group. I use the island as a buffet, and people can sit here at the island or they can sit over here. And honestly, once they get nestled in this little nook, it's kind of hard to get them to leave. So I love entertaining, and I love all types of entertaining. It's rare that I have a super formal event, although I have. More likely than not, it's a lot of ladies and we're doing something that has some sort of theme. I think the last event I had was a Galentine's Day gathering where we had a makeup artist who came and did a demo on how to do a smoky eye. And I think the menu for that was like, hors d'oeuvres kind of thing, drinks, some sort of fun Valentine's Day cocktail. And we usually have people congregating here, eating. Like I said, I usually use this as a buffet. And it's really kind of more casual, but it tends to be a lot of people. And sometimes we spill out into the patio, but I love entertaining with a theme. And I usually do kind of go all out with the theme. I've done tea parties. I've done movie night in the backyard. So it usually tends to be a little bit more casual, less formal, but something fun that people get really excited about getting dressed up and coming to. One of the questions that we ask our clients when we first meet with them is, who are you? And it's one of the things that they kind of look at us like we're crazy and scratch their heads a bit. Because I think it's something that people don't assess a lot. But in my mind, your home should be the truest representation of who you are. If you like music, your home should kind of tell that story. If you love color, your home should tell that story. If you love to read, you love books, you love to entertain, I really feel like our home should tell our stories. And so the easiest way to get to your own personal style is to take a self-assessment and figure out, who am I? Like, what's my thing? What do I love? Do I love fashion? Am I a person who wants it clean and calm and minimalistic? I like that kind of soothing space. I feel like those are all cues at personal style. So often we look outward to determine what our personal style is, when I really feel like we should be looking inward. So it's not about trends or what's on social media, what we've seen, what we've pinned. It's more about, how can I create a space that I live in that is a reflection of me. So in 2020, when I revamped the entire kitchen, I needed a space that could serve as a drop zone. My back entrance from my garage is here. And when I come in, this is where I land. And so I had this little bitty corner that previously just had a coat rack on it, or a coat hook. And I thought, how can I really maximize this corner and make it more of a style statement and a function statement? And so I decided to wrap the corner in wallpaper that kind of speaks back to the tile selection in the kitchen. And then I had electrical added here so I could have a lamp, so that when I come in the evening times, this lamp is on. I've got little bowls that corral my keys and sunglasses, and garage door opener. Obviously, this is where my security system is functioning from. I've got flowers from the garden this time of year. And then underneath here, I've got garden boots and Crocs for the garden. And it really just is where I house all of the things that I need as I'm leaving the home. And this has honestly been one of the most functional additions to my entire house. I absolutely love having this space, and I think it's a really good example of how you don't need a lot of space to add a lot of function. I think when it comes to decorating my own space, I'm somewhere between loving it and hating it. I love to be surrounded by nice things, but I am not one of those people that changes things a lot. I don't move my furniture around very often. Once I find a piece that I love, I am more likely to keep it forever than to change it just for the sake of change. And so because of that, it means that while my home has evolved slowly, I still have a lot of the things that I moved in with that are part of my cherished story here. And I don't have any reservations about that. You know, I think being an interior designer gives me that outlet to scratch that itch that I need to do things that are fresh and new in other people's homes. But as far as my own goes, I'm about the small tweaks and the refinement and the additions that make it even more your own versus just changing it to get the latest and greatest. Now I'll take you to my private quarters. So this is my master bedroom. It's right off the entry, and it is my place to relax and get restored for the next day. Again, in keeping with the theme, function first. I'm a girl with a lot of stuff, and so that stuff has to live somewhere. And so I'm constantly trying to find the balance between how do I have the functionality that I need, but how do I make it look good? And so that, I feel like this bedroom and the bathroom are really good examples of that. So, for example, I have lots of bracelets, lots of jewelry in general. And so I just kind of made them into a decorative moment. So these are all of my bangles. And I'll be honest with you, having them on display means I actually wear them more often because I'm not forgetting what I have, and I'm able to select the piece that works the best for the outfit that I have on. And I just kind of love having them out. And they don't feel like clutter to me because they're positioned in a way that is aesthetically pleasing, and they give me extra storage. So similarly to the bracelets, I've done the same thing with the necklaces. I know it looks like madness, but there is a method to the madness. I kind of have things grouped in categories. We've got the pearls on one side and the more global things up here, the colorful things in that corner. And there's just something about having them displayed and within arm's reach that allows me to be able to wear them and enjoy them more often. So in 2015, I revamped my bedroom, and it was all stemmed from this fabulous find at a flea market in town. And I had been shopping this flea market. I think it was open once a month. And one market, I saw this floral fabric that something about it, I was drawn to it. It was like polished cotton. It was old school. It had a floral motif, and I couldn't get it out of my mind for like a month. Well, I started to Google it, and I found it online and realized it was Schumacher's Pine Hollyhock. Like literally iconic print. I had taken a picture of it the month before at the antique market, and it had like 20 yards on the bolt, and I think the whole bolt was like $45. If you know what Schumacher's Pine Hollyhock is, you're probably croaking right now. So I had to wait weeks before the market opened again. But when it did, after I realized what I was looking at, I was there when the gates opened. I beelined to that booth, and thank God that fabric bolt of 20 yards was still sitting there. So I purchased that fabric, and I took it to my upholsterer. I told him, let's do a headboard. I designed a headboard, and that became the focal point for my bedroom refresh. So I did the fabric on the headboard as well as the bolster. At the time, I did it on a throw pillow. And then years later, I still had yardage left. I decided, well, why am I not using this? Let's do a cornice on both of these windows with that same fabric. And I promise you, if I had enough, I'd also have drapery. But I might have to pony up and purchase some more because I still love it. All these years later, I still love this print. It's just the perfect combination of neutrals, and it's super serene, and it gave me a jumping off point for a paint color, for bedding, for accent fabric. I love it. I'm a hunter and gatherer when it comes to shopping, and so I found this actually Pottery Barn 8x10 rug. I think it had a flaw at some point somewhere on it, probably hidden underneath my bed. But I decided I wanted kind of a layered rug. So on top of my carpet, I actually have this graphic print rug, this kind of medallion trellis motif. And I've had it for years and it still works. And so I still have it. I also, again, I'm a girl who loves a wing chair because they just have maximum comfort. Something about being able to be nestled in a chair and having a place to put your head back that I really like. So I picked this up at that same antique market that's open monthly, that used to be open monthly, and recovered it. And it's just a super cozy seat to have your morning coffee in. And then I obviously have a TV in my bedroom. I've got it on this upholstered table with a couple of extra ottomans tucked beneath. Just gives me an opportunity to play with pattern and texture and color. And upholstery, again, just gives that warm and cozy feel. And of course, they function as additional seating if I need to move them around the house. So I love a bedroom with a fireplace, and obviously I didn't have one. So years ago, these were the hot ticket. There are so many more options now, but my parents bought this for me for Christmas. I don't know how long ago, but I still use it to this day. I've actually changed the firebox in it, but this electric fireplace in the winter, especially in the beginning of the winter when it's not quite cold, you just need to knock the chill off in the morning. I love this thing. It's on a remote control. I can't tell you how many people come in here and think this is a real fireplace, but it's not. It's electric, but it totally functions for me. I've positioned a piece of vintage art that, I don't know, something about it just resonated. And like I said, when I find something that I like, I tend not to replace it if I don't have to. And so this is a piece that I've had for years. And it's just kind of leaning here. Got my girl framed, my bracelets. It's just a nice little area. And you can't have a home without a full-size mirror. I've got a couple in my home. This is the one that I probably use the most. My closet is inside the bathroom, and so I often come here and have outfit trials in this mirror. This is a vintage one that I got at an antique, a estate sale actually, and I love the shape of it. It's special. It's super heavy, and I probably will have this forever. My absolute favorite space in my home today is probably my bathroom. It took me 16 years to check it off the list. I just finished renovating it the end of last year, and it is my happy place. It's where I start every day. It's where I end every day, and I designed it specifically for my own personal needs. I'm a bath girl. Give me all the bubbles, give me the candles. I want all the pretty things, but I also want functionality. And I feel like that space checks every single box that I needed to. And I get to experience that day in and day out. And it just, as an interior designer, it reinforces the value of getting those things right. And honestly, it helps me to be able to deliver that same thing to my clients. So it's by far my favorite. Now let me show you my absolute favorite space in my entire house. This is my principal bathroom. So it's been a little less than a year, but recently I decided it was time. It was time to completely overhaul this space. And so I knew function was going to be super important here. I knew I wanted it to be stylish, but also very serene and calming. I'm a color girl who has a lot of pattern everywhere, but I needed a place to decompress, and this became that space. So, where to begin? For starters, I have a shower tub combo, and that can be a bit of a design challenge in this day of freestanding tubs and standalone showers. So, I'm a bath girl. I'm a person who uses my bath every day. And I knew I needed to make that shower bath combo work, but look elevated. And so one of the things that I was able to do was to use fabric or textiles to really elevate the look. So we went floor to ceiling with the shower curtain. We did a valance at the top, and the functionality is kind of hidden behind this faux panel here. And I'm able to just push the shower curtain back and hide it completely and still get the formality of having floor to ceiling drapery on the shower. It also gives me a great view of the accent tile that I've done here. It really makes this area to have that pattern go all the way to the top and to frame out the tile work as art. So there were a lot of elements that make this bath super functional. One of the things that I needed was storage. And so I went with custom cabinetry that packs a lot in the way of storage. I have a tower here that goes from the countertop to the ceiling, and it houses any number of my things, personal effects that I use on a daily basis. I put a plug inside of the tower so I could easily tuck my curling iron inside. I've got makeup storage. I've got a pull-out around the plumbing underneath to really maximize the storage here. Lighting also plays a really big role in the space. Originally, I had one ceiling fixture and a vent and a vanity light. And I really wanted to be able to have lighting to shift the mood of the space by day and by night. And so I added the sconces here on the mirror. I added a mirror to reflect on the side of the tower, which you get both the front view of the sconce, but you also get a side view of the sconce. I added a overhead ceiling chandelier that is a semi-flush mount that drops down a little bit into the space, and it's also on a dimmer. And so that allows me to kind of, play with the mood in the evening time. I've got a vent that has a light that is LED, but that also has a Bluetooth speaker. So I can play my music while I'm in the bathtub. And then I added a recessed light inside of the shower. And so there are multiple layers of lighting just in this small bathroom. And I can't tell you, that was probably the best investment I made in the space because it really allows you to have the lighting you need when you need it. One of the pain points in this space before I renovated was the fact that my neighbors live right outside this window. And so I hated the idea of having to open and close this shade with them looking at me if they happen to be on their back porch enjoying the day. So I opted for a top-down, bottom-up, motorized shade on this little tiny window, and it gives the most functionality because I can still get the light in the morning without having to worry about whether my neighbors are about to see me in the bathroom. So it was a really great addition that adds functionality, and it's super pretty, but it solved a really big problem that I originally had. And I love this so much. It's the little things. I really feel like pieces that are meaningful, whether that's art, that can be furniture, it could be collectibles, things that have a story, to me make a home come alive. If I can walk into a home and ask, what is that? What's that piece of, tell me about that piece of art over there. Or, oh, I love these dishes. Where did you get those? There's usually a story attached to that. And for some reason that gives a home soul to me. It's less about, oh, they matched the color scheme, so I picked it up. Or that wall just needed something and that fit the bill. I feel like people should be more intentional about selecting things or acquiring things, or maybe getting heirlooms or antiques from family members that are passed down that have meaning and that help tell the story. So one of my favorite places in my home is outside, especially this time of year. So I am a little bit of a gardener, and spring is the best time in North Carolina. So I've got a mixture here of containers that have flowers, and then I've got my perennials that are in beds that kind of flank this brick patio that I use so much. So I've got string lights that I've taken from the tree here back to the house to give me evening ambiance. And I've got another bed here that flanks the brick patio where I've got some hydrangeas. And it's just fun to see what's blooming. There's a cornucopia of things that I've planted over the years that are perennial, that come up each year. And I absolutely love awaiting what's going to bloom next. One of my absolute favorites is actually over in the corner, and that is my prized peonies. They just happen to be blooming right now, and it is the best time of the year if you ask me. To add more functionality to this little bitty covered space that I have in the backyard, I decided that it would be a great idea to add motorized shades that I could literally close off and let down and have a space that's completely enclosed in the evenings or when the mosquitoes are out of control. I absolutely love this tiny retreat. It's so nice. It's shaded. I've got a mini ceiling fan in here, and it really added so much functionality to my outdoor space. If I had to pick one element that I like most about my home, it would probably be its size. I feel like it is just big enough for me to feel alone, but it also is not overwhelming. It's got a coziness to it. And it has all of those functional things I need, like the garage and the backyard and the fence and the front porch, that make it just the right size and scale for me. Home is a refuge, a dwelling place. It is comfort, it's relaxation, it's rest, it's restoration. I feel like it's where I come more than anywhere else that fills my cup. You know, the day-to-day grind, especially of entrepreneurship, is a lot. And having a space to come home to where I can just breathe is worth every penny I've spent to make this home my own and still spend to pay for it. I feel like it's probably the best investment I've ever made.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to go to homeworthy.com for exclusive content, shopping guides, and so much more.